George Wheeler from the East End of London joined the Fire Brigade as a 16-year-old boy messenger. He was just 18 when the London Blitz began in September 1940. In this extract from his interview, he describes what it was like to be a teenage firefighter tackling major fires at oil refineries and the London docks.
1938, when I was 16, the authorities could see that a war was looming very, very fast, and they started to make preparations for this war, and they recruited every fire station in the London area. They recruited local boys at the age of 16, which they had to have a bicycle. And what it was the boys knew all the streets round about, and also the idea was that with bicycles, in the event of communications being totally destroyed, that with a bicycle you could get backwards and forwards from the substation you were at and the main fire station, which was a control centre. But the other thing too that was very important, because you knew your area, you also knew where all the fire hydrants were and where all the emergency water supplies were, so that when war broke out in 1939, I was mobilised. We carried on intensive training. At the age of 17, I was taught to do exactly the same duties as a regular fireman, which was how to operate pumps, how to use a hose, how to go up ladders, how to carry people down. And I was one of the lucky few that was even shown how to use a turntable ladder. So I had the experience of being up over a 100-foot ladder right over the roofs, and how to operate the hose. At the end of August, we had a call, and we were told to go down to the oil refinery at the mouth of the Thames, Shedhaven and Thameshaven. When we got down there, the Germans were dive bombing the tanks. There was a Stuka bombers who were coming down. They were screaming down because they had a sort of, I think it was a siren underneath them, and they were dropping the bombs right on the tanks, split the tanks, because the tanks had no protection of any sort. So the burning fuel of petrol just spread all over the place, set all the other tanks on fire. We found it very difficult to fight the fires. Now, this went on for 2 weeks, but what it did, the black smoke going up in the sky formed a marker, and less than 20, 30 miles away there was the French coast, and the German airfields were right up onto the edge of the French coast. So as soon as they were airborne, they could see this black plume, so all they had to do was make for that. Fire started very, very rapidly. We got the first call out about 5:15. We went straight to the docks, East India docks. When we got there, all the big bonded warehouses, were all on fire. Everything around it was on fire, but we had a lot of trouble because being bonded warehouses, they had high windows on the warehouses itself, but they had a 20-foot high wall all the way round them, and you only had 2 entrances, one in and one out. We get in, we finally get into the docks, and we went round, and we used the dock itself as a source of water, because with your pumps you got a special length of hose, a suction hose, which you could drop into the dock itself, and you've got unlimited water. You could start pumping up. You're taught that you always go into the fire. You try and find the entrance in, get in, and you can attack it better from the inside if you can get in. But we had enormous steel doors that had padlocks on, and the only people that had the keys to the padlocks was Customs and Excise. So we couldn't get in. So by the time we got Customs and Excise there, the places are really going. This is why the fires got such a hold. Anywhere where there's a bonded warehouse, you couldn't get in. When we did get in, we fought our way in. You make sure that if there's a staircase, it's fairly safe. And because all the inside of those warehouses, although they were brick on the outside, the way they were constructed was inside you had cast iron stanchions that held big wooden beams that held the floors. So by the time you got in there, all these are alight. once the fires were going, then the follow-up bombers, German bombers, when they came up, they just started dropping high explosive into them, really stirring it up, because if you've got a fire going, if you've got a fire really going, so all you've got to do is start dropping 250 kilogram bombs into it, and it result in explosions everywhere. The particular danger that we had, and it used to be a fireman's nightmare, when you're wearing a uniform, which was a waterproof double-breasted jacket, you had leather, oilskin leggings, and you had rubber boots. If you got blown into the dock, as some of them were, bomb landed near them, the blast blew them into the dock, then you sank like a stone, and you could not get up. There was a lot of casualties, plus the fact that a bomb drops down into the burning building in front of you, and you've got these very thick walls go, and they all come out and they fall on top of you. And the other thing was, because the way these buildings were constructed at the time, you had iron stanchion, but you had the big wooden beams across that held the floor. Well, when that all got burnt, there was nothing to tie the outside walls in, so with the tremendous heat, the walls buckle, and then these floors, they've got all the inflammable stuff, sugar, oils, spirits, all sorts of inflammable things, big barrels of wine. You had all this on the floors because it's bonded warehouse. So as you're standing there, you're fighting it, one of the floors drops down, everything's dropping down, and all of a sudden, all this lot gushes out, flames and all it, and you're standing there. Most times, you hear the noise and you know what's going to happen, and you run like mad. But if you don't...
Please help to rescue and preserve more memories of the Second World War. Visit www.war-experience.org.